Are you team 한지평 or team 남도산? Welcome to After Our Happy Hour. We are your chaotic but cathartic co-hosts. I'm Sharon.
I'm Jamila.
And I'm Vicky.
Alrighty, everyone. So we have a very exciting episode today, or at least it's really exciting for us because we've all binged Startup and we all caught up to episode 12 and we all want to share our thoughts on it, on this drama, because we just been texting each other about it and we just thought, okay, why don't we just make a podcast episode about it, because we feel like other people might relate to the same thing as us. So for today, we're just gonna be sharing our thoughts on, what has happened so far, as well as whose team are we on, and we're making a bet to see if we are going to flip teams and who the main lead or main female lead is going to end up in the end.
Okay, so I'm sure everyone who's watching has also been watching Startup, but just a brief recap of the characters. It revolves around a woman who dreams of becoming an entrepreneur. And then there's a man who is secretly her first love. And then there's also a second man who is pretending to be her first love. So the female lead doesn't know that until in the middle of the series.
Okay, so instead of just talking about the show episode by episode, I had a couple questions. But the first question I had is, what team are you guys on?
I am for sure team Han Ji-pyong. From the get-go, I texted our group chat and was like, I think I'm team him, but I wasn't sure because I wasn't familiar with the characters yet. But as the episodes progressed on, I am for sure team. I'm just gonna call him HJP. HJP is easier.
Dude, I'm hardcore Namdo-san. Like, at the beginning, I was like, oh, Team HJP, because everybody on social media was talking about him, and there's so many memes. The way they angled the story was like, oh, that's the first love, and then Namdo-san just comes in and, like, sweeps her off her feet and stuff. But then as the story progressed more and more, I'm like, wow, I really like Namdo-san, and I'm, like, fully, like, if they don't end up together, I'm gonna be so disappointed.
Okay, so I'm kind of in between. I was 110% team Han Ji-pyong since the moment that they met at the networking party and he put his hand above her head as she was trying to get in the car to block her head from hitting the car. From that moment on, I was like, I'm team H for sure. And because they have history, right? They have so much chemistry. But then as the series goes on, obviously it's very centered around Namdo-san and that's all we get. I can see it. They're cute. So I'm kind of in between.
Okay, following up to that question, do you think your bias is who it is because of your ideal man?
Yeah, I think someone who's older, who has this kind of life together, who has ambition, as well as just being very charismatic.
Dude, I think he's a dick. Like, I understand the whole, gotta be strict and honest, especially as an entrepreneur. Like, they're trying to make sure that they make the right decision, so they have to be honest about it. But at the same time, I feel like he has a lot of issues and he's projecting it onto the team. He needs help.
Yeah, I think that's why in the middle I kind of wavered teams, because as the show went on, he progressively became more of a dick in moments when he didn't really need to be. I get it. It's the reality of things being, really competitive and you need to hear the truth in a situation where you're trying to start your own startup. But even to the girl that he quote unquote loves, he's really mean to her sometimes. I think that's why I was going back and forth between that. But in terms of the ideal man, see, I'm not team HJP because he's like my ideal man. I just ship him and the girl more than I ship her and DS. I just saw somewhere that it's also because he doesn't know how to express his emotions because of all his built up resentment in his childhood trauma. And I like that you can see his teenage angst in his 30-year-old angst. It ties in so well. And yeah, he needs help, but he's not a bad person. He just needs to practice sharing his emotions or talking about it,
For me, whenever NDS and the girl were having their moments, I really honestly could not get into it and I would skip it sometimes because I was just so not team NDS. Oh, I feel for him, I know he lacks the confidence and he has the brain and his skills, but he just lacks the confidence and good connection. So I feel for his character. I just don't feel personally attracted to him in terms of ideal type. So that's why I don't like his character as much as I do with HJP.
I remember texting you guys when I first started the series because I watched it first before you guys. And I remember texting you guys, oh, I started this new K-drama and I feel like I already know which side Jam would be on, blah, blah, blah. Because in terms of what she looks for in a man, in terms of like alpha male who is the dominant, I guess, in situations like this, Jam is definitely more HJP and she would get annoyed at NDS, I feel like.
You're so right.
I think I really enjoy the idea of like seeing someone grow. So for Namdo-san, like there's so much growth in his character from the beginning to like where it is now in episode 12. Before he was not that hot looking and he didn't have his shit together. And also this idea of him not getting lucky, quote unquote, to land an investor because he is awkward. I feel like I can understand and feel that a lot, especially as someone who does not know how to network and stuff like that. It makes me feel for him more when he is working so hard, but he just didn't get lucky enough to get an investor. He can't convince someone to buy his product or his company, essentially. And so when I see him from like very beginning to where he is now, where he stands his ground and he states how he feels, and also he doesn't play games, kind of like how HJP does. I feel like HJP, because he has so many issues, he kind of like hides how he feels and is like avoiding Dalmi and stuff. And I'm just like, if you like her, show her to her face. He just said it.
Wait,
and then
he
that was
did.
it. Yeah, he just said it, but then he doesn't show her, you know, through actions.
He has done so much for her. This entire drama is literally based around how much he's done for her.
But not to her face.
She wouldn't have been with Mano-san if it wasn't for him.
That's true. But that's all like behind the scene. And then for a long period of time, he was in denial about it up until like almost till they revealed the secret. That one scene of them at the noodle house, and that was it, where he confessed his feelings.
I think his action is there in terms of how he feels. It's just he can't express it. He's done so much for Taimi behind the scenes that it's just overshadowed by NDS and Taimi, but he's done everything.
I think that's why I like Namdo-san, because he's so straightforward. He, I don't know, protects her and does all these things and stands up for her. And I feel like they gave him a lot more chances to be there for her.
I think episodes 6 through 8 specifically was when I started kind of being Team Namdo-san, because that is when his character development really showed. I feel like he showed up for her in situations where she couldn't stand up for herself. And knowing that he couldn't do that from episode 1, I think that's what got to me. I think he liked the idea of her at first, but then as their character development progressed and their chemistry progressed, he actually fell for her. Versus I think HJP kind of was in the background because he was respecting the request of Taimi's grandma. But even then, like, that pulled on my heartstrings because his relationship with the grandma is so cute. So imagine if he was dating her, then that would just be like a family, you know? So
okay, that's also another thing is, do you like HJP and Dalmi so much because of his relationship with the grandma and there's that history, and not necessarily them two on their own? Because for me, that's how I see it, is Dalmi and HJP is together because grandma asked him to write the letters and stuff. Like, a part of me feels like, oh, he's doing it because of the grandma, and then maybe afterwards he'll just figure out that no, I don't owe it to the grandma to have to protect her and do all these things for her.
I think Taimi would have no interest in Tosan if it wasn't for the whole she thought that he was the love of her life from 15 years ago kind of thing. I like the series specifically because she's not like a soft girl. She's very outspoken and not afraid to show who she really is, versus Namdo-san's very calm and collected and shy. HJP is also on her wavelength of crazy energy or charismatic. And so I think that's why their chemistry has always been there from 15 years ago to now.
I also like how HJP pushes her to be the more courageous side of her, to take on more challenges, where I feel like in her relationship with Nandu-san, she's always the one that's leading a little bit.
Okay, moving past this, I feel like she will end up with Namdo-san. Let's talk about that a little bit. But I genuinely feel like she'll end up with Namdo-san because I feel like HJP will always be that admired, respected figure for her, but not someone that she needs. He will push her to be the best in her job, but when it comes to everything else, I believe that Namdo-san meets that for her more than HJP.
You know how Jam always talks about love of your life versus love for your life? I think NDS is her love for her life, but not love of her life. I feel like HJP missed out on his opportunity because he let NDS have the spotlight for so long before confessing or her finding out the truth. But I agree that based off how the show is going and how much time they've committed into NDS and Tarmi, I feel like there's no way they won't end up together. As much as I want her to end up with HJP. Unless something happens in the last 4 episodes where it's completely different, especially because, episode 12 ends on their 3-year break when he and his team go to America. So unless something happens, I still think she's going to end up with NDS.
I think the drama part in me kind of knows that she'll end up with Nam-doo-san because I guess he is the main lead. But another part of me feels like the drama's gonna play some shit with us and she ends up not being with any of them.
Dude, a part of me feels that too because HJP is her first love. Nam-do-san is her love, but also it started off on a lie, and there might be a chance that she's like, I need to work on myself and my company, and I just can't deal with both of you guys and the lie that it started off with, and she just needs a clean break.
Maybe towards the end, she has an opportunity to go America. Because in episode 12, she was stripped of that opportunity to go when she got kicked out, right? So what if at the end of episode 16, she gets this opportunity? Like Vicky said, she needs that mental break for herself and she doesn't end up any of them.
But also, why I ship Nam-do-san and Dalmi so much is in this very last episode, I think Dalmi made a decision of letting him go to America and saying, hey, I hate it. I feel humiliated that I wasn't chosen. And when she said, oh, you're not the person in the letter, I don't think she meant that, but she had to say that so that he would leave. That speaks volumes for love, right? When you let someone you love go just for their own sake, because of their happiness, their success, I'm going to let them go and not be selfish in this decision and lie to them and break both of our hearts.
But don't you think her personality meshes better with HJP? Take away all the dickhead of him. In terms of how he is as a person, don't you think that they mesh better? Or do you still think otherwise?
I see the chemistry, but I think the time has passed for him. That's her first love, but then first love ends somewhere. It won't be her forever love.
Not gonna lie, the part where Dalmi made that entire speech letting him go and all that crying, I don't know why I just didn't feel it as much. I was just like, yes, this is time for HJP to come in. Previews for episode 13 came in, and you could see that they were hanging out. He was at their place with the grandma and stuff. So I was like, oh my god, there's hope for HJP. Like, come on. But I have a feeling in those 3 years, Dalmi probably didn't initiate anything, but just had HJP by her side to support her through everything.
Same. I think that's the thing that clashes about Dalmi and HJP is because they both are such generous people in their own way, like how the grandma calls him a good boy, and that idea of he always wants the best for someone else, even if it means that he's not getting what he wants. Because of that, it will put an obstacle in their relationship and they'll never get together because in his mind, he's like, oh, she needs to figure it out herself, or she needs to work on her company, or she needs to do all these things that he's willing to step back, and they'll never have that moment for them.
That's so weird because every time I see Nam-do-san and Tarmi, I'm like, oh yeah, they're cute. But then there'll be a scene where HJP, he mixed his noodles and then he swapped with her. I was like, see, little clips like that, even if it's like 30 seconds, my heart swoons HJP team. So I think ultimately I am his team. But my question was going to be, in the 3 years that NDS is in America, do you think she dates HJP?
In those 3 years from the preview, it seems like she starts her own company or she's working for her sister's company really hard. So I don't think HJP would cut in and be like, oh, this is my time to shine. He'll always be in the background helping her. And it isn't until Nam-do-san comes and really fights for her attention that will spark something in him to fight harder too.
That's what I think too.
Okay, guess we'll find out.
Question I had. So take out Namdo-san, take out HJP, their personalities or whatever. Let's say you're presented with two men in their situation, right? One that is Namdo-san, who is super, super smart, kind of awkward, but super smart, and you know that he's gonna get somewhere in his life. He just needs to get there, right? And then you have someone who's HJP who is there already. He is a billionaire. He's got his shit together, and you meet both of these men and they're both chasing you. Who do you choose?
Wait, hold on. You're taking out like completely personality or
Yeah, like not the bias that you have for Namdo-san and HJP, just like as two men that approach you and this is their background story.
I don't know if I can answer that unbiasedly because even in that situation, you have to think about HJP is a lot older than NDS. When he wrote that letter to Tanmi saying that his name was Namdo-san, he looked at a kid. So I think in that aspect, NDS does have a lot of years to catch up on, which is why HJP is already there. I guess it depends how old I am.
Okay, I guess the question I'm trying to ask is, do you want to grow with this person or be with someone who already has his shit together?
I feel like someone who already has his shit together could still grow. Just because you have your shit together doesn't mean the person is complacent at where they are. So I think it's also really hard to answer that question if there's no personality or other context to it, just based on those facts.
Same.
Dude, that kissing scene,
Jam's like, ew, can we just stop talking about them?
The one on the
with
rooftop?
Namdo-san? Yeah.
Yeah, I fast
Okay,
forwarded
it was really, really long.
I thought it was
It was kind of cute that he was like, oh, you caught me off guard. And then he like went back in and kissed her again.
Exactly. He didn't even go for the kiss. It was her who went for the kiss. And I feel like Taimi, already being an alpha female, she would need an alpha male to swoop in first. But she had to make the first move, you know?
You know what I was thinking? I was really hoping that his blood didn't get all over her hair or her neck.
Oh my god.
I was going to ask, take Taimi, HJP, and NDS out of the story. Who is your favorite character in the show?
It's either the grandma or Namdo-san's mom. Those two. They're so funny. I love the grandma the most though because I feel like she's peak saint. She's so nice and she's so giving, yet she's such a Asian grandma. Tough love type of thing.
I really like the grandma too. And I texted you guys this, but why couldn't my grandma, happen to help out an orphan kid who happens to be really good at investing and who borrows the name of a really smart guy who's also happens to be really good looking? Like, come on, grandma. But my other favorite character is HJP's, is it assistant? Park
The one with
something.
glasses?
Yeah, the one with the glasses.
Just call him Mr. Park.
Oh,
He's
Mr.
very
Park.
funny.
Yeah, I really like
So
him too.
funny. Dude, when HJP literally took his shirt off for him in the crowd of everyone, I was like,
I feel like all these supporting characters, they're so funny. That's why I think all three of us really enjoy the show too, is because all these side stories or side characters add so much humor in such a kind of serious romantic like love triangle. But it's so funny that there's moments where I'm literally in bed smacking my pillow from how funny it is.
dude, me too. I think his name is Charsan, the one who comes out in Crash Landing. He's so funny, especially when he's trying to swoop the other girl. Or maybe it's because I'm Korean, so I know his accent. It's just so funny. And I ship the three guys' friendship more than I do NDS and Taimi. So yeah, the supporting characters are really cute.
You know the part in the middle, I think like between maybe like 4 to 8, where NDS and HJP pretend to be brothers and stuff? I thought that
So
part was
funny.
just so funny. It was so cute. Like the stuff they would say to each other when they started getting jealous towards each other. And they were at that one scene at grandma's house where they both try to fight to sleep over. And then the shirt.
It's the shirt.
I know HJP was wearing the pink shirt with a grumpy face and he was making the same thing. I think that was also the part along with the ancestor lady that I thought it reminded me of Jin from BTS because of that like pouty
little baby.
babiness.
Question. What were you guys' thoughts on one of the San boys scene with his brother or that whole plot of the show?
Honestly, I was underwhelmed. I thought something bigger would have happened. I thought in the elevator scene, he would have taken his revenge or something, but he literally just pinned HJP to the wall.
I agree. I think that was the only side story of the entire show that I was kind of like, I get why you wanted to include it, but I wish it was more dramatic when it was revealed that he was the one that lost the brother. Because you know how the episode ended with him in the elevator? I was like, oh my god, I'm ready to start the next episode and see what happens. But that was it. So unless something happens in the last 4 episodes, I was kind of like,
I feel the same way, where if they don't add any more story or context to this story of whatever San he is, wasn't really a point to bringing this whole side story into the timeline.
Oh my god, what if in the last 4 episodes they come back, right? And then he still has the vengeance in him and then hurts HJP, and then Dalmi has to come in and save him, and then they have this like moment together. Dude, I should just be a fucking scriptwriter, bro.
No! I refuse!
I do think he'll still be vengeful, but I don't know if anything will happen.
It might end where it is now, because that one scene where he goes, I'm going to America not because I want the career and the money, but it's because I want to prove him wrong and say that we could do it, because HJP was the one was like, your company will never make it. You're not made to be a CEO and all these things, and trashing on them. So I think it will end where it is now.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that Charles-han and that one girl will end up together though when they
me
come
too.
back from America.
I ship it. She was kind of a bitch though.
Yeah, she's like the girl version of HJP, kind of.
I would say a little worse. Okay, this is kind of straying a little from love interest, but more so work, kind of. But this idea of luck versus hard work. So this whole episode is kind of touching on how, HJP is kind of lucky, or like Nando-san lacks the luck. So the idea of when you have HJP and he basically is naturally smart at a young age, learned how to do investment and stuff, and he picked it up so quick where in a year he made 700 million won, something like that, before he left the grandma's place. And then there's Namdo-san, who is clearly very, very, very smart, but he just lacks the social skill or like the ability to promote his idea. And so I guess the question is, do you guys believe that you need luck in order to be as successful as like HJP, for example? Because that's what kind of Namdo-san like lacks.
I wouldn't say it's luck. For Namdo-san, I feel like it's because his personality hinders him from going out there to make certain things possible. And I think he doubted himself a lot in the beginning. So I don't think it had to do with luck. Versus HJP, I guess, used his knowledge to his advantage and went out of his way to make his dreams possible. And even that related to luck, I wouldn't say he's lucky because, you know, he grew up as an orphan. And I wouldn't say it's luck for NDS and HJP.
I also wouldn't say it's luck. And I think the one thing that NDS was lacking isn't luck, is working with a group of people who balance out each other, because they're all engineers. They're really good at what they do, but they're missing that person who brings their idea into an actual business plan. They were missing someone who had a set of skills that they didn't have. I feel like Sharon and I have really business-like answers.
Yeah. I also don't believe that it's luck. Obviously, HJP didn't have things handed to him. He worked for what he had. But at the same time, a part of me feels like, he got not lucky, but it was such a good luck that he met the grandma at a young age and was able to establish this connection with her. And even luck at a very beginning, when he was born, I guess, he has the ability to be sociable, right? That's kind of like lucky in a sense, that he has the skill set that Namdo-san doesn't have.
I mean, technically, you could say Namdo-san is lucky too in this drama, because HJP used his name. And if it wasn't for HJP, he would not get to where he is right now in love and relationships. So
yeah,
I guess if you want to say lucky, like he could have been lucky in that sense too.
They both got lucky in that sense.
Yeah.
Meeting the grandma, meeting each other.
I appreciate that the show doesn't portray her as someone who's oblivious to HJP's actions, though, because you know how sometimes they could always make him seem like such a saint and that the girl is ungrateful for all he does, but it's clear that Dalmi is like fully appreciative and always acknowledges that, oh, what you say doesn't hurt me, like I know what you say is for my own good, and also accepting that even if it was as a mentor figure or stuff like that, she acknowledges you've done so much for me so far, and I appreciate that, even before her finding out who he truly is.
What are your thoughts on Tarmi and her working for her sister?
Dude, I have very mixed feelings about the sister. Like, I can't tell if I respect her or I can't tell if I just fucking hate her. There's moments where I'm like, that's such a bitchy thing to say for her to be like, oh, you made the wrong decision. Why did you choose dad? You could have been where I'm at right now. When it comes to those moments, I'm like, why do you think so highly of yourself? You're not that great of a person. But then there's also moments, especially the scene where after Dami won the whole competition and got the investment, and she approached her sister to like basically show off, and the sister was like, oh, just let you know that this is like a fair warning that what you sign up for is not what you think it is and stuff like that. And those moments where I'm like, she clearly knows a lot more than Dalmi, especially since she's been in the industry for so long, and she's just not warning her sister, but at the same time she does have such mixed feelings for her, because I can see her kind of still care for Dalmi, but at the same time, like, you're being a horrible sister. You're not like helping her out. You're just watching her fail.
Yeah, I think Tarmi remained the bigger person the whole time. I feel like when I saw that Tarmi ended up, working or interviewing for her sister, I was like, I didn't know how I felt about it just because the sister was just a bitch the whole time.
I honestly can't wait to see the character shift of the sister as well as their relationship, because we're starting to see that a little bit with the mom. Dami's starting to be a little bit more accepting of her mom, and I can't wait to see that with her sister. I know that her sister is like a bitch in the entire show, but at the same time, I could see why she became that way because of her upbringing, as well as her mom honestly just not really being there for her, as well as her dad just crediting everything that she did.
I feel like the next 4 episodes are going to be so good.
Okay, so wrapping up this episode, all 3 of us are going to confirm what we think is going to happen and who Tarmi will end up with. And then in the next episode, part 2, we will reveal what our punishment is if we got it wrong. So I'll go first. I think Tarmi is actually going to end up with Tosan, even though my heart belongs to HJP.
I think the same thing. I hope it ends like that, or else I'll be really, really sad. But yeah, I think the 3 years that Namdo-san is away, she won't date HJP, and then when Namdo-san comes back, it'll be a fight for her love, and then she'll end up choosing Namdo-san in the end.
I am so team HJP, and I don't think anything is going to flip me, but I think the ending is that she just not gonna choose either, and she goes off to do her career.
That would be so sad, but like, I'm for it.
I'd rather have that ending than her ending up with Namdo-san. I'm sorry. And all the Namdo-san lovers and supporters out there, I'm so sorry.
I think I'm gonna cry. So that wraps up our episode on Startup. Let us know what team you're on, and let us know if you actually like the show and when you started, and slide in our DMs. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.